Many of horror cinema's most horrific and terrifying moments, such as Halloween's lengthy chase sequences, the blood test scene in The Thing, the finale of The Exorcist, and Room 237 in The Shining, are masterclasses in suspense and build-up. The movie draws out the scene, builds the tension up to unbearable levels, and then delivers a killer payoff. And there's a reason this approach is used so often. Quite simply, it works. It really does. On the other hand, not all great horror movie scenes are kind enough to prepare viewers with a build-up. Instead, they just come right out of nowhere with pretty much no warning. So, with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture here with 10 horrific horror movie moments that came out of nowhere. Number 10, Summer of '84, The Bathtub. Summer of '84 is an enormously entertaining teen horror flick, and one that hasn't got the attention it deserves since its release. It's one hell of a refined work, and it evolves in a very interesting way tone-wise. Earlier on, although there's an unmistakable atmosphere of dread and suspense, the film has quite a light, nostalgic tone, bolstered by the chemistry between its four young leads and an effective undercurrent of comedy. Nonetheless, much like many other great horror movies before it, the tone has completely changed by the final act. And the moment that really makes this clear is when protagonist Davy and two other characters break into the cop's house and discover a child's rotting corpse in the bath. As a sudden excursion into the grotesque, coming at the tail end of what had largely been a gore-free movie no less, this explodes onto the screen without any sort of warning and is really an exemplary jump scare that kicks the film right into high gear. The movie then maintains this level of dark adult terror right up until its bold, surprisingly bleak ending. Number 9, The Black Phone, The Beating. The most disturbing moment of The Black Phone didn't actually involve Ethan Hawke's child killer antagonist at all. Instead, it was this unflinchingly brutal depiction of domestic abuse in which the protagonist's father violently beats his daughter. Director Scott Derrickson later revealed that he had to fight to keep this scene in the film, and it's not really hard to see why. It is a seriously nasty and hard to watch sequence, especially thanks to the fantastic acting from Jeremy Davies and Madeline McGraw. And while the film as a whole is very solid indeed, it is this early scene that really lingers with you long after the film concludes. Number 8, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Enter Leatherface. Although Leatherface's filmography leaves a lot to be desired, he is still a terrific horror movie villain, as well as an undeniable icon of the genre. Furthermore, with the possible exception of maybe Michael Myers, no other horror movie killer had a greater entrance than he did. Early on in Tobe Hooper's monolithic horror masterpiece, Kirk enters a nearby house hoping to get some gas for his van. He sees an open doorway, hears some squealing noises coming from the room and heads over there. And then he is greeted by Leatherface, who calmly whacks the poor man on the head with a hammer. Leatherface drags his dying, convulsing victim into the room and then violently slams a metal door shut. There's no loud screeching sound effect and there's no warning. It's a practically perfect horror movie jump scare on every single level. Number 7, Don't Look Now, The Dwarf. Don't Look Now is a stunningly powerful, faultlessly directed meditation on grief and spirituality that ultimately concludes with what is not only one of the most chilling horror endings out there, but also one of the most unexpected. The unnamed female dwarf who murders protagonist John Baxter at the end of the film really does come right out of left field. It is said several times throughout the film that a serial killer is at large in Venice, but these mentions are infrequent enough that viewers might forget it right up until this moment. Furthermore, the only sightings of this killer are distant ones of her in her red coat, and viewers are likely to believe, just like poor John did, that these are visions of Baxter's daughter, who dies at the beginning of the film. When the figure turns around and reveals herself to be the killer, John freezes in shock, probably mirroring exactly how viewers will react. And tragically, by the time John comes to his senses, the dwarf has already sliced his throat open with a cleaver. Nice. Number 6, Funny Games, Rewinding. As if this Austrian psychological horror film wasn't already blood-curdling enough, it then boasts what is possibly the most disturbing, not to mention unexpected, fourth wall break ever put to film. Towards the end of the movie, which tells the story of an ordinary family being taken hostage and subjected to sadistic games by two mysterious strangers, family matriarch Anna finally gets the upper hand on the tormentors and shoots one of them dead, only for the other attacker to take the TV's remote control and literally rewind the film itself. Thus, he undoes his partner's death, and the two men, having already killed Anna's son, kill her and her husband too. Evil completely triumphs in Funny Games, and while this is the case in so many other horror films, there aren't many others in which the good guys are so chillingly helpless. Number 5. The Skin I Live In, The Big Reveal. It's true that The Skin I Live In doesn't contain scares in the traditional sense, but don't let that fool you. This is still a blood-curdling movie that uses its narrative to rattle viewers instead, and the main tool in its arsenal is what is quite arguably one of the most horrifying, harrowing plot twists ever put to film. The film tells the story of an unstable plastic surgeon who has lost both his wife and his daughter and has been conducting illegal experiments to create the perfect synthetic skin. He also has been keeping a mysterious woman named Vera captive at his house, but who exactly is she? Well, she was originally a young man who the surgeon believed raped his daughter, and she eventually committed suicide. In revenge, he kidnapped the young man, gave him a forcible sex change, and used extensive surgery to transform him into a replica of his late wife. Messed Up doesn't even cover it. Many of the best plot twists are subtly hinted at numerous times before the final reveal, but the twist in this film is not one of those. There aren't many clues at all, and when the reveal does come along, viewers will feel like they've been punched repeatedly in the windpipe with a knuckle duster. Number 4. The Invisible Man, The Restaurant. When it comes to shocking horror movie death scenes that are so sudden that they leave viewers picking their jaws off the floor, the abrupt murder of Emily in The Invisible Man deserves to be ranked among the all-time best. Writer-director Leigh Whannell did an incredible job of lulling audiences into a false sense of security by making this meeting between protagonist Cecilia and her sister Emily feel so normal, and by refusing to give away any hint that the film's main villain, who has invented an invisibility suit that allows him to torment Cecilia, is in the room with them. Whannell only gives viewers a couple of seconds to brace for what's about to happen, a brief shot of a knife hovering in the air, before Emily has her throat slashed and the knife is placed in Cecilia's hand, framing her for the murder of her own sister. The Invisible Man is a truly great movie, and possibly the finest horror film of the 2020s so far. But as strong as the film as a whole is, it's this particular scene that really lingered with viewers, and it's not really hard to see why. Number 3. Malignant, Gabriel. If anyone said they saw Malignant's big plot twist coming, they are absolutely lying. Even on repeat viewing, the clues are extremely subtle. The film features a mysterious killer taking various people out, while protagonist Madison keeps having visions of these murders as they're happening. Eventually, she becomes the main suspect and is arrested, but, as her sister Sydney soon discovers, there's a twist. And it's a doozy. The killer isn't Madison. It's a parasitic twin who lives within Madison and when carrying out the murders, takes over her body and operates her backwards. The reveal of the half-formed twin sticking out of Madison's body, in medical footage that Sydney watches when she learns the truth, is an unforgettably gnarly piece of body horror, and it is truly horrifying. But in the best way possible. Not only is this a wickedly smart plot twist, but it actually saves the entire movie, as after being a well-shot but poorly written and unevenly acted slasher for much of its runtime, Malignant delivers an absolutely incredible final act in which Gabriel goes on the rampage. In more ways than one, Malignant is one of the strangest horror films in recent memory. Number 2. Barbarian, Into the Tunnels. Barbarian is yet another one of those horror movies that brilliantly subverts your expectations over and over and over again. It starts out with Tess and Keith finding that they booked the same Airbnb by mistake, and then not long after that, the pair discover a creepy, seemingly endless series of dark passageways underneath the house. In a long, harrowingly tense sequence, Keith gets lost in the tunnels and Tess heads in to find him. But once she does, a giant, naked, deformed woman lunges out of the darkness and crushes poor Keith's skull. And then the film cuts to black and switches focus to a completely different character, and at that point, viewers don't even find out what happened to Tess. Much like with Malignant's big twist, this is the kind of rug pull that no one will have seen coming, and it's a truly terrifying jump scare to boot. Horrifying, unbearably tense, beautifully made and acted, and above all, shocking. This whole scene perfectly encapsulates what makes Barbarian by far one of the most elite horror films of the 2020s to date. Number 1. Hereditary, Charlie's Death. The marketing for Ari Aster's bone-rattling debut Hereditary played up the presence of the kid character Charlie and made her look like a major player in the story. And so, when she appeared to die in a car accident only half an hour through the film, Most people probably thought that this was a fake out. In fact, many probably spent much of the rest of the film waiting for Charlie to pop up alive and well, even though we saw that horrifying close-up of her severed head on the road. Everything about this entire scene, from that grisly shot of the head to the harrowing depiction of the mother's grief, is completely brutal. And as well as being ridiculously unexpected, it's also so upsetting. Horrible. Truly, truly horrible. But also absolutely brilliant at the same time. And that's everything for this list. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also tap that notification bell as well. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there. And I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.